Good morning. Last fall, we announced charges against 50 people in what has become known as the Feeding Our Future fraud. At the time, we explained that the defendants were charged with stealing more than $250 million meant to feed needy children in Minnesota. We also said that there would be more charges to come. Today, I am here with my law enforcement partners to announce charges against 10 more defendants, bringing the total number of defendants in these cases to 60. While the defendants we announced today are new, and some of the tactics they used are specific to how they executed the scheme, the song of the Feeding Our Future scandal remains the same. These defendants, just like the first 50 announced last fall, falsely claimed to be feeding thousands of children a day. They submitted false reimbursement sheets with phony names of children and often used false invoices to make it appear as though they were purchasing large amounts of food when they were not. Just like the first group of defendants, those charged today spent much of the money they stole on themselves, buying property, luxury vehicles, and in one case, an aircraft. I cannot overstate the work that the dedicated federal agents, accountants, and paralegals from the FBI, IRS, and Postal Inspection Service are continuing to do on a daily basis. I am proud to be joined today by our federal partners. Alvin Winston, the special agent in charge of the FBI, Justin Campbell, the special agent in charge of the IRS, and Steve Hodges, Postal Inspection Service Assistant Inspector in charge. Our work is not done, and we expect to bring more charges in the future. This slide shows the 47 defendants charged in September of 2022. Shortly after this date, we brought charges against 3 additional defendants, bringing the total for 2022 of people charged to 50. Today, we announced 10 new defendants in separate indictments and informations, as you see on the slide. As you know, we file an information when we expect that the defendant will be pleading guilty. These defendants on this slide are alleged to have operated fraudulent food sites in Pelican Rapids, Faribault, Burnsville, Minnetonka, Bloomington, Minneapolis, and St. Paul. In the middle, you see the name Kausar Jama. Ms. Jama provides a good insight into how these defendants carried out the scheme. Ms. Jama claimed to operate feeding sites in a number of towns in Minnesota, one of which was Pelican Rapids, which I will highlight this morning. Pelican Rapids is a small town in north central Minnesota with a population of about 2,500. But Ms. Jama claimed to be serving about 2,560 meals a day to children, needy children, in Pelican Rapids. And in case you haven't done the math, that means that she claims to be feeding everybody who lived in Pelican Rapids every day, whether they were children or not, whether they were needy or not. Not surprising, this is an intricate part of her fraud. So what do we know and what is alleged about Ms. Jama? First of all, she wasn't serving food. Ms. Jama used phony invoices that she got from others to make it appear as though she was buying food for these 2,560 people. Second of all, there were, in fact, no children being served. None of the children listed on her reimbursement forms matched the enrolled children in the schools in Pelican Rapids, which you can imagine was also less than 2,500. In addition, she reached out to a friend to ask her to invent more names as the scheme went on. And finally, perhaps most brazenly compared to other defendants, she did not even have a site at which she claimed to be serving food. As you recall from the original charges that we brought in September, the individuals often rented storefronts or small restaurants to make it appear as though they were serving food to the children that they claimed on their reimbursement forms. Ms. Jama did not even do that. She forged a phony lease and submitted it with her application to make it appear as though she was serving food out of a location in Pelican Rapids, which she was not. And then finally, Ms. Jama, from all of her sites that she operated in Minnesota, obtained a little over $3.7 million from the federal food programs. Now, I previously described this as a brazen scheme of staggering proportions, and I would suggest that the allegations against Ms. Jama put the exclamation point to that description. Next, how did these new defendants, the 10 new defendants, spend the money, spend the fraudulent proceeds that they obtained? Many purchased luxury vehicles, Teslas and Infinitis and other cars. Others took luxury vacations and paid for travel at high-priced resorts. One defendant put down about $250,000 on an aircraft to be delivered to Kenya on his behalf. Many purchased real estate, including a very large tract of land in Minnesota. And then finally, and this one is hard to describe, but you'll understand it, one defendant laundered his funds by purchasing a laundromat. What is the status of this investigation to date? So back in September of 2022, we announced that we had seized about $50 million worth of property fraudulently obtained by the defendants. That number is over $66.6 million now and climbing. This includes property, bank accounts, real estate, and over $4 million worth of vehicles that we have seized or frozen. To date, we have charged, as of today, 60 defendants in this ever-growing scandal. 6 have pled guilty so far, with more to come. And as I've said before, our investigation continues, and we expect more charges in the future. I will take some questions. Yes.
Ms. Lugar, are you able to comment yet on the quality care aspect of this investigation? I see they're still listed as sponsor A.
I am not. Not surprising. Yes.
As you covered, there are some duplicate names here in this superseding indictment that seems to come out of the Hodges Kitchen case. There's one woman who was on that initial indictment, Nav Awed, who does not appear to be on this superseding indictment. Are these separate files, or is she still being charged?
So some people have pled guilty, and then we've announced additional charges. So as people plead guilty, they get removed from indictments, typically. Matt?
The total cost of this to taxpayers, is it still estimated to be around $250 million?
It's growing, and it'll continue to grow. We're going to have more information on that coming. We've got to make sure we're not double counting as new people are added, but that their numbers were previously included. But it's up from the 250 that it was. Before I go, yes, go ahead.
Do we know how this started? Like, was it one person who said, "Hey, look at that, we could get in on this"?
I think those were the exact words. We'll have more information on that.
You'll at some point really,
We hope to.
because it seems like it would just start randomly, and a bunch of people doing it. There had to be maybe someone who organized it.
We'll have more information on that coming. Scott? Some, and it's described in the indictments.
Do you anticipate being able to recover more assets from these or other defendants?
Yes. Before I go back to you, Matt, just want to make sure. Go ahead.
Or any of these defendants cooperating with investigations?
Can't discuss cooperation by these or any defendants. Yes. And then wait, let's go back, and then Matt, I'll get to you.
Can you give us information on how many of these people are caught, or how many might be overseas, if any?
No one's overseas.
Is everybody who's announced today going to appear in court?
Yes. And either today or tomorrow.
Bye.